Welcome to class 7 on this advanced resolve class. We're in Sydney here recording these at fxphd. This is probably the 6th time I've done this, started at 07. So it's good to be back doing this and I'm enjoying it. It's good being back with the guys. I hope you're enjoying the classes. This sort of follows on from number 2 really, where we'd conform this sequence. And I'm just going to go over a few looks and a few of the things you can do and how you can store your grades and looks and how we can use some external looks to create things. So we're just going to use a couple of shots. We're using the 15 cut down that we conformed in lesson 2. So in terms of adding a style or a look to something, now we can see that she's obviously quite different to him before we start, and it's quite important that you get it working as a primary balance before you start to put any look on. Now I need to change the color space of these, and you can see that these are changing. When I go to this one, it says clip, and we're working in red log film, red color 3. When we go to her shot, we can see it looks different and we can see it's going back to project. So I'm going to link these back to the project. So we're all working for the same defaults there of our red files. It's better. So that's going to make it look a little bit better just for start off, but always check those things. Go in and why would that be looking that different? Unless it was shot at a different time, unless it was a pickup shot, then you could have a problem with doing those things and picking up those things. If we want to balance first, and so if the idea is, oh, it's got to look golden, it's got to match roughly what the offline was, and the director may come in and say, can you show me that reference movie? Right click there, show reference wipe, and this is what they may have had in line in their offline, which is quite extreme. It's a little bit noisy, it's a bit harsh. They probably did it very quickly as a look. But one thing you may have to consider is if they put this on the offline they're sending you or the work in progress grade, the chances are maybe that's what's been approved by the client. So you may have to get something quite similar to this. And it's quite difficult because you might look at it and think, oh, it's a bit over pushed, or it's a bit noisy, or it's a bit that. But if a client quite likes where that's going, then it's your job to get it somewhere near there without upsetting them, without telling them it's not been graded that well or whatever. Again, that's an experience thing, but never just diss that look off and say, oh no, we don't do it now, I want to do it this way. Obviously, the reason you are grading a job, and if this come to you to be a colorist, you didn't have any other involvement in it, is because a director or a producer or someone there wants you to have a say in how the film looks. They're bringing it to you. Now, they could have done it themselves. People can do it themselves if they want. But they're bringing it to you not because you know how to use the buttons, because you're going to have creative input in something. And that's what they're looking to see. And so they are looking a little bit for you to go, well, okay, it's quite good, the blue, but I'm just going to balance out the blue first. So let's bring these up for you guys. And what I'll do is just come into here, and I'm done with the raw. I'm quite happy where I am with the raw. I'm just going to see my blacks are just sitting up a little bit, but my first node is going to be good, so I can see detail in the hair. Overall, it looks a little bit cool, and I've got in the back of my mind where the offline is, and I like to maybe offer up a couple of different looks, 3 looks maybe, of how we could approach this. My first node, always my balance. I haven't done too much. I'm just going to add a little bit of saturation through number 1, maybe up to 55. I'm making sure I've lifted up the midtones. I can see into her eyes. Yeah, it's conservative, but it's doing enough. It's doing this. Left click here, off, on, like that, okay? Try and move that down there so you can see what's happening in there, like that. Let me create another node, and then what we'll do, we will start to put in our grade, Option S there. Now, I'm thinking that maybe we can try and do something like that thing in the offline. So what I will do is I like that where it is. I'm going to create a layer. I'm not going to do that, am I? I'm going to come back to here. Instead of hitting L, I'm going to hit Option L. Create a layer. And I just want to key those skin tones through there. Always just drag a sample of them so we can, there. Remember, as I said in secondaries, we can keep clicking and dragging, get a good idea of what is in there. Then we can use these newer, so if it's white and you've got a little bit of noise in the white areas, you can use the white clip. And if you bring that down, you see how that's just filling in there? To go too much is going to do that. It does a little bit. Tread lightly. Black is going to try and lose some of these black fringes we've got around here. That's what that's aiming to do. It'll fill in the black parts, and it's trying to fill in the holes. And the denoise is quite good as well. Just a little bit there. A little bit of the radius. And again, here at this stage, I'm just playing around a little bit just to see, and I'll get a feeling of what the client likes or what they don't like. So if I do that, and I then go for, I'm not really going to do any grading. I like that. The reason I left that other node free, here, I didn't do anything in there, did I? So I'm going to induce a bit of my greeny type matrixy feel into there. Now, this becomes my green, and this becomes my skin tone. You can still now see I've started to get some green into the skin tone. So I'd need to go back there, and I'd need to widen this key out probably. Let's switch between that and switch between the highlight black and white, like that one. And we see we're not getting this area on the side of her face, so that becomes green. So that is, if I turn it off, it's probably a little bit brighter. It's not. Does it have more saturation? No. Go lower. That's a bit better. And then open my width a bit more. If you get to a stage where you go, what is that? I can't get that colour. Then just and just click on it there. And that tells you. It's quite cool. It's obviously a cool lamp hitting her right there. So then you need to scrub from there through to there. Get more of the colour into the key, then start to take the things back like that. Then start to say, oh, maybe we can take the low stuff away. There, like this. Yeah. So like I said, always spend a little bit of time before you then actually commit to start adjusting these controls, because these can take quite a long time. Right, low should start to move some of the hair. Width, if we bring that, we'll lose some of the blue, but then with the same blue light that's hitting her on the side of the head, we're okay there. We've then blurred that a little bit already. We'll do that. And then our green is going to the background, and the foreground is cutting through. And because you've done it as a layer, the advantage there, it's not mixing like in a parallel. If I just put that into loop, I would save that to the client and say, well, that's one look. I'd put that there in my still store, grab still, right click here, that, put that look. I could put it in the memories, A and B up here. And if you're using panels, I quite often do that because I've got a panel that's very easy to save in there, then toggle between A and B memories. Or just A and B, do you like this one, do you like that one? Because I've done it a layer, I could say, well, maybe we do more the orange and teal thing. Instead of going for a greeny matrix vibe there, I just get rid of this guy. Oh, sorry, get rid of that there. It's this one. Keep getting that wrong. Come over here. I could go up to node 2, yeah? And then I want to grade on node 2, So if I select this colour, I know which one I'm on. I'm on node 2. That tells me without having to go back and look. I can then time this away from that green that we did in the mids and maybe go a bit more of a cyan-y look, and then we're in a bit more of an orange and teal feel. Come back up here, select this, bring that back there, and in there we can just grade our skin, because so far I haven't graded the skin, and I'll just go there. And then I've got a second option to show the client. Just while they've been probably fiddling around and getting set up, you've got two things that you can show them. Middle click on it. That one, slightly greeny matrixy version. That one, more of an orange and teal, maybe more of a... Let's have a look at it. What makes her stand out a bit? He comes into it, maybe he's a bit bright, maybe an overall vignette, which you would do here. Normally, before you go to vignettes, you get some feedback from the client. Do you like that one or that one? They think, no, a bit green. I can see I don't like that. I like that. That looks a bit cleaner to me. Good. So you've ticked away. They don't quite like the green one. We want a vignette on here. Now, we talked about power grades and all the things you can get from Blackmagic, and there's about 50 of them in here. And I want to make one of my own, because using some of theirs, though it can be fine, I find it's useful to start building my own. So if I was to drag any of these from here, and this is from Power Grade, old film, I can drag that and put it on the end of that like that. And it's going to make it look contrasty and old. Well, that might be fine. But what I want to do is make a vignette, and this is like a vignette shape that I'm always going to keep using. So I go to an empty node where there's nothing on it, no grading, and I select my shape, and I make the sort of vignette that I use on a lot of shots, standard sort of size here. Just drag that over, and to darken the outside on here, I don't want to do too much. So if I did too much lift, it's going to crush the outside. That's not going to look so good. Same if I did too much on the gain by bringing that down, it's just going to flatten the vignette. Doesn't look too good. So I'm just going to do a little bit in each. A little bit of gamma, a bit in the blacks, soften that through, like that. Toggle it off and have a quick look. Something like that. It's a good starting point. Go back here, and in Power Grade, amongst all of these, I right-click and grab Still. So instead of putting it into the Still Store, because in my current session, I put it in the Power Grade, and I call it Warren's Grad. Or vignette, or whatever. Now I come back to her. I've got this one pre-built. I can drag that to there. As an easy little one, I can say, well, there's a vignette. And if they say, oh, I don't quite like it, I can obviously go in there, click on it, all the parameters then wake up and it becomes live. But that's easier than me having to pre-build that all the time. And a lot of shots have vignettes and little windows. Okay, I've done that. I like that. Now I come back to my stills for my job. I grab still of that. I now want to see how that works on his shot. So can I just middle click? I can. There's no rules to say I can't do that. I'm not saying it's going to work, because there's no particular way that one shot works across all the others. It really does. But in the stage where you're establishing looks and you're starting a session, you don't want to go too far down the road and finessing all your keys and shapes. The client says, you know what? You know, we had that green look going earlier. I actually quite like that. If you look closely at this, you can see that obviously the key is falling apart quite a lot here. It's pretty noisy. It's not very good. Not ideally going to work. So I could use it, but if they say to me, I'm liking the feel of it, you then start to go in and finesse it. So I could turn that one off. I don't need to grade with that vignette. And I go back here. Now you decide, well, is it better to me to start afresh, or do I go in and I start manipulating this key and changing this? And it's those little things that you decide which way's faster. You'll probably get the same way, but sometimes it's better going in and starting again with a key, if you're keying a new person, than manipulating something else. Yeah, that's again, subjective thing, how you work. Just be careful when you are dragging things, grades, you know, it's not necessarily going to work. You are going to have to go in there and do adjust. So you could spend longer mucking around trying to adjust her key on him than you would just start again on him. Remember, you can use your shapes at any time. So if you need to garbage something off very quickly, you can, like that. And then I'm quickly doing this now just to say how the thought process goes then. So I've adjusted some of these in there and I put a little bit of blur. And they say, yeah, not too bad. We quite like it. With a bit of work, that's good. 2 or 3, maybe 3 looks, and maybe you do an alternative that's a bit more desaturated, is fine. Don't complicate things with too many things. If you can get an idea of where they want to go with the look, you do it quite roughly like this. Then you go in and fine-tune it. Don't give too many options. Don't spend too long. And don't spend too long in the session before you actually bring the client up the front and say, do you like this? And get them to go, yeah, I'm really liking that. If we match it to that, that becomes our hero, that becomes our guide. Then you start matching. It's sometimes quite hard to commit, and it's quite hard to know where to start when you're starting grading, and should you start on her, should we start on a wide? I normally pick a few shots and I would pop, you know, that grade into there probably, and then what you can do, I quite like doing this, that one then into there, so we've got all 4 shots, select them all, then use view, split screen mode, selected clips, and you can see this out on your Flanders display as well. And again, really good for clients. They go, well, yeah, he is a little bit over-coloured. I can see that. The key's not working there, but certainly the coolness is working better than the green grade. And really great for commercials when you got pack shots as well. So you go through and you do the grade, you got the pack shot, the product, you got the hero actor, the hero actress. Works really well. And you can grade in here as well. So we could be able to toggle through the clips. There. So now we're on that one. So now I could choose to come in there and desaturate that, change the opacity off of that clip. Like that. So I'm bringing that down on him. That's looking a bit more natural. That's comparing things obviously in the where we compared things with the split screen, which works okay. Conventionally, you can compare things obviously with your still store in here by right-clicking, playing still like that. One thing to remember, it's normally best just to wipe the whole thing over, then cut it back up, Command W, like that, rather than putting the wipe right through the middle of the picture. You can sometimes get a much better idea of how it's going to cut if you do that. Again, this is just to get a feel. If the director goes, yeah, I love that, then you need to remember to go in and fix up the keys and change things. But again, don't spend all that time right at the beginning because they might not like the look and you may have spent too much time doing it. Let's look at a version. So we've done a version there on this one, on her hero version. Let's make another version, color, add version. And now we can choose to delete any of this, or we can keep some of it. And let's look at doing it similar way, doing it with a curve. So we'll add a new serial this time. And we'll see whether we come into our curves. We'll get rid of that guy. A bit more space. We're in number 2, so we make that bigger like that. In here, what we can do is go to our secondary curves, and we can do a hue versus hue, and pick a hue background color here. Now that's normally always going to be over obviously in the red side. It's red going through yellow through the color spectrum here. So I can just push that up a little bit slightly. I'm going a little bit more warmer orangey there, and see if we can pick another color which is more of this background color there. And if we get hold of that, we can change that and go up there to get more of our cyan-y look there. And just pick that one like that there. Now, if you get something you like here, this can sometimes be easier and quicker because you don't have the noise issues and the key issues. It's going to take a really long time if you may have to key every shot. So have a little experiment in here as well, because this might be a good way to go to get a slightly different feel and a look, instead of doing a key and keying everyone. Again, it's a subjective thing. Some people really love these curves, dig these and get in there, but you can break the image pretty quickly like that. Start to just force that, so tread lightly when you're in here. Like that. Maybe that's an option to do that. That's version 2. It's okay, it's a bit blotchy on the kin. So I sort of favour for that sort of thing. Probably couldn't do it all as one node there. Let's leave that though. Let's make another node. I'll just name that and I'll call that version 2. Rename. We'll call that curve. Like that. And then we'll make another version. Color. Add version. Delete that guy. Or just reset him. Color, reset selected node. Open home. And we'll try log grading. So in the highlights, or anything above there, we're going to just move and try and pick a little bit more of that orange to do our sort of orange and tealy look that we're going for. Now, if I bring my waveforms in, you can see that that is having not much effect. Now, why is that? The reason for that is that all of this highlight information in log grading is working above here. So it's actually working on nothing. So what I can do, I can bring my range down, my high range, there. And you can see now it's kicking slightly into her skin. And if I want to do my shadows, I'll go here into my cyan-y look. There, a little bit there. Again, I like that. That works quite well. And not having the problems with the key, that's quite a good option. I know that will be easier for me as well, so maybe I want to sell this one a bit more to the client. So now I have 3, and I can look at them here by going previous version. Not a big fan of the curve really. Previous version. There, that one works. And the vignette, I like the vignette. I think that works. I don't have that on the other version though, so I'm actually going to copy and paste that. It's a quick way of doing it, so I can just say Apple C, go to my next version, there on my panel, Apple N, let's use that there. Don't like that one. Apple next there, that's the one I like. Make a new node. So you need to make a new node and copy something into it. Then I can copy that grade into there. So that's a good way. Saves remaking it. I could of course got it out of my power grade as well, but now I've got it there and I quite like that as an option. So that's 3 ways of making a look. You can never say, well, that's the definite way of making a better look than another way. Sapphire another way. So maybe we decide that we use sapphire or we use LUTs to do something. So I can make another version while we're here. Add a version. Let's call this one LUT. Now you can buy lots of off-shelf LUTs that will do things. Resolve do give you some. Let's just see what we've got in there and see what they've changed in here. VFX film looks. So these are basically not necessarily looks and styles ones. They're more for matching out film stocks. So they're not necessarily going to work in the workflow that we've got going on here. What we could try and do is see what some of these others, Hulk, Smash, Golden look. Here's one that I made before when we were building LUTs. There. That becomes a look that could be utilised. Obviously, that could be my orange and teal look or my matrix type feel. The only thing is with a LUT, it could have been brought or someone could have sent it to me. I have no idea what it's done to create that look. I don't know. It's all happening under the hood in the graphics card. So from a learning point of view, it's quite tricky. From a learning point of view, power grades are better in learning with DaVinci, because if you want to use this dark shadow feel, you can drag that in and you can see exactly how it's happened. It's happened as a key, tells you how it's been done. It's happened as a primary. Undo. If you feel like you need to do any one of these, like cross-faded, definitely do that. You can drag it, and as soon as it drops, you can see what has been achieved. So it's much better for training. With LUTs, you do not get any of this information, because a LUT can be used in any box. So in terms of creating the look, there's many ways, whether you're manually doing it or you are buying presets, LUTs, or you are using Sapphire. So if you're using Sapphire, that could be the last one we do. So let us just put that LUT back on there, because we just want to render this and see some options in there. We can add LUT again, 3D LUT. I'll just use my golden look as an option. Add a version. And we'll just reset that this time. Color, reset the selected node. And then come into FX here, and we'll see what we've got, because we've got Sapphire stylized, and we'll just try one of these to see how this works. Oh, there's a bleach bypass, so let's try that. We'll drag that in. Oh, that's very dark. Amount, saturation, obviously is dependent on what went before it. So if I open up my shadows a little bit in node 1, then that is going to help that sit better on node 2. Like that. But that's very heavy, and there's a bleach bypass. Let's just see if I reset everything out of there, whether that's going to work a little bit better. It looked a little bit heavy to me. Let's try that again. If you can just click there. No, you have to make a node to drag it in. You can't drag it straight to the line. I thought they might have changed that. You can't, so there. You can adjust the grain details on it. You can take the colors off it. Amount of grain, offset darks. Go through and just so full amount of control. There's a heap of controls that you can do in there. Soften it all off when you've done it. So now we have a number of versions, and I'll just rename that one as well. Let's rename. So we've got Sapphire in there. Client cannot decide on which option to use or which grade to use, and we have a number of them. We have the ability to that's what I want to use there. Make sure we are going to render individual clips. like that and not one clip, because this is going to go back into the Avid say and be finished, smoke or anywhere like that. Use commercial workflow, that's what I'm looking for. Use version names for the folders. So I made a few versions here, didn't I? And I want all of those, and I want all of these as separate clips. So I'm going to render as separate clips. And what will happen is when I render this, render to, let's do a quick render here. Into looks like that. And we will just take a couple, so we'll go in there and we'll go there, mark in and mark out. So we'll just do that, and then we'll say add job to render queue, so we're not looking at all of it. Start render. See it changing? It's giving me all the different looks. So, and I ticked use folder name or version name for folder. So what I'm hoping when I come in here and refresh this, I like to look at that in a list view. In looks, we've got curve, LUT, sapphire, version 3 that I was too lazy to label. So it really helps if you're passing it off to another VFX or someone's going to finish, they get an actual folder with the alternative grading. They can decide maybe that would be a skin pass, a flat pass, pass for the car, all those sort of things, and they can be pre-named as well. If you really like using versions and you find you render them quite a lot, then a good idea to come in here and you can pre-make this to be background. Number 2, pre-select car. Number 3 can be Warren, and you can make number 4 director. Like that, apply. So now we've done that, when I come back into here, I'm busily working away. I've got this shot on the end, and we want to make create a new version. Add version. Create a Warren grade. Something like that. What I can then do is take out a log, and it'll work a little bit better. There we are. Create a grade, and then I need to name that version. Version 2, rename, brings up the box, but now I've got the preset of Warren in there, so I haven't got to worry about typing it in. Bang, done. It says Warren. It's quite a neat trick if you do use versions. I find I do sometimes because versions keep your tracking data. Copying the look into here does not. Remember that. You copy a clip with a track in here, bring it back out, you've lost it. Keeping a version, you keep it. Thanks for that little look at workflows and how you maybe work with clients and looks. Thank you.